The county has just announced a massive public investment deal with its 3 major cities. So today we're gonna build waste management systems, several new schools, and complex infrastructure. But as we start developing these projects, costs start spiraling out of control and millions seem to vanish into thin air. Rumors start spreading, and it might somehow be connected to this shady bar in Chowder Bay and this mysterious social club in Fort John. Welcome to East Haven County.
Whoa! Who knew I would make it this far? They hated, they never believed me. Yeah, I would never drop the ball. I know I make it look easy. Yeah, Mayweather with the defense. I don't care what a critic got to say. I got them picking up the pieces. That mean you really playing with your life. I'm about to come and run it all back. I'm the new era, about to snap back. You ain't fitting for it, cause you all cap like. Hold up. I shoot my shot, wait, hold up. I'm really about to run this go up. You know it's all net when it go up. Ain't got no other plans, you don't need to understand. Ay, we on overtime, you don't need to understand. Ay, you just show them how to do it when you don't know what to say. Tell me how you plan to win if you plan to play the same. Moving fast, already gone, yeah, but you bringing me back. Try to double cross me, dog, just let me relax. Stop assuming what we doing. Keep it moving, what we doing. Cause it can get dangerous. Cause it can get dangerous.
The first thing we're gonna try and fix is the waste management situation here in East Haven County. And this is an area that just doesn't function, and I don't know why, because I've done sizable investments here and each and every city has its own localized system. Whatever the case may be, some of the more important structures and buildings don't have waste being picked up regularly, and it's really hurting our efficiency. It's also causing an issue up here at the Chowder Bay Clean Coal Power Plant because a lack of garbage pickup is really harming our efficiency. So this is a twofold problem because we are already dependent, highly dependent on electricity imports from northeastern Massachusetts and the area around Boston for the city to actually function. And we're paying a ton for this. And I think the garbage management overlay really highlights the current issue. Our garbage accumulation is really outpacing our processing speed by quite a bit on a monthly basis. And generally, we don't utilize all the garbage all that well. You can turn this into energy, and all we have is a standalone biogas power generator producing 2 megawatts, and this is just a drop in a bucket of water for the current needs. So I'm thinking we can solve both issues by potentially building the incineration plant. It's going to massively increase our processing capacity. It's going to add 50 garbage trucks to the entire county, which I think is more than we currently have in combination from all the current processing facilities. And then it's going to potentially produce 40 megawatts of power, which is going to reduce our reliance on outside power by about half. So on paper, while this is an expensive investment, it's the right one for the city. But I do wonder what this is actually going to cost us, because all these rumors of illicit activity and shady organizations being involved in waste management, yeah, it's making me a little uneasy. Anyways, we have to unlock it first. So let's move in here and grab the incineration plant. Now, unlocking this thing is the easy step. Actually placing it, that's going to be a little more tricky, because it is a very, very chunky asset. And I don't want to just magically spawn an island we can place it on. And I need to place it somewhere very central in the county, because I don't want to restrict its service coverage to any specific district or city. It's going to be a county-wide effort and a collaborative process with the 3 major cities. So there needs to be infrastructure in place so that these 50 garbage trucks can reach, one end of the island's way out here and service Cape Rose as well. Now, where do we have a central location we could... Oh, this is fortunate. A small protected wildlife refuge, some old marshlands here. I'm thinking, goodbye birds, welcome waste management. Of course, just placing it here isn't solving anything because there's no actual traffic infrastructure in place. This is gonna get so messy. But I love messy, so we're all in for a ride now. Let's just start by placing this thing, and then we'll try and build the actual road infrastructure around it so that things are gonna look and feel a little more organic. How do I place it so that it's the least disruptive? I mean, I really can't, right? This is just gonna carve up this marshland completely. Oh well. Gone with the wildlife refuge. Let's grab a wide industrial looking road so we can ensure that the garbage trucks have easy access here. Actually, let's just take the contour lines. It looks like we're on a relatively flat space here. So I'm gonna disable snapping, and then I think we're just gonna add a straight segment to kind of cover the frontal area here of our new plants. And then back here, I think we're gonna place our own transformer. I think that is also just gonna make the area look even more grungy and industrial. So I think I'm going to make this road slightly bendy as we move down here, something like this. And then I can manually place the transformer station. Just align that a little bit, real close. Yank. And then we're gonna grab the power line. We're gonna move that underground and just connect the two. Now something weird is happening. The company that won this bid, that we awarded the contract to, they state a cost of $1 million. You can see that in the top right corner there. But as soon as I hit play, it's like it's much more than $1 million. Look, it's like 5 or 6 million. I mean, this needs criminal investigation, but I mean, we can't stop now. We're already in the approval process and the main structure has gone up. So we gotta do the infrastructure investment now and make the best of it.
What line of work are you in?
Waste management consultant.
We're gonna need some pretty serious infrastructure to support the incineration plant and most importantly have easy access to all major cities and urban settlements. So we need pretty easy access to Massachusetts Route 28 in the westbound and northbound directions. So we'll definitely need some kind of bridge here near the current freight rail bridge, and then we need to kind of dig underneath, or it's gonna be expensive. Now we potentially need a small bridge here as well to connect directly to the port of Fort John, because that generates a ton of waste as well. We probably need a bridge directly to Forge Point so that we can serve that industrial area, but also the suburban sprawl out here near Cape Rose. And that's probably gonna be it, but that's also 3 bridges. So each of these freight rail bridges are gonna need an accompanying vehicle traffic bridge. That's gonna be costly. And then there's the whole on and off ramp situation down here. In fact, let's start with this project because that's probably gonna require the biggest investment. Let's start by just getting a simple bridge in place so we kind of know what we are dealing with here. I'm gonna disable all snapping and just do like a rough segment. I'm gonna use move it to ensure that I have the alignment to the freight rail bridge somewhat decent. And if I could do a direct connection to this road down here, I'd be very happy. That looks like it's almost central. And we'll just bring that in. And now things are getting really tricky. So I need an on-ramp to this segment, this elevated segment, and then I need an on-ramp to this elevated segment. But we already have a ramp here that I could potentially kind of branch into, going underneath all of this infrastructure. We are gonna try that. We're just gonna imminent domain these guys. Goodbye. And then I'm just gonna free build this as a start and then get the connection right. So we're gonna select ground mode so that we ensure it's not gonna change to any other mode as I build this. And I think I'm toggling all snapping off, and we're going to go down by not 10 but 875. That should be sufficient for truck traffic to go underneath all these rail tracks. We'll enable contour lines for good measure. And let's see. Okay, so I think something like this is actually is pretty much what I want. And then we'll just get the connection right here. I'll need to elevate this segment, of course. And I'm not gonna go in a smooth transition to the single lane here. Instead, I'm gonna have a bit of an off angle and click, because then I'm hopeful that if I upgrade this to a 2-lane segment, it's gonna look better. Yeah, it looks better, but not perfect. But for now, it's fine. We can do all the adjustment we need in just a second. Okay, so that kind of works. I'll need to upgrade quite a few bridge segments, and we've got a big node here, so that's not gonna work. And we don't have any issues here. So I'm actually gonna change this up, because the train tracks were here first, and you know, moving this big structure where a couple of tracks meet up would be massively expensive. So I'm not gonna do any of that kind of stuff. So we're gonna try and build this as organic as possible. Okay, of course, we're gonna go down to 875 again, and this time around we'll avoid this big structure where the two freight tracks connects, or actually it's freight and passenger, and then we're gonna go underneath at this segment instead and move in this direction. And of course we'll have to flip these for it to make sense. And I mean, just adhering to that quote-unquote rule for development does make this look a little more organic and natural, and we just about avoid the big node there. Perfect. Okay, so I wonder if we can save a bit of cost by starting our overpass from around this segment here. We'll need to move above these and connect to the northbound tracks. I mean, we're just gonna give it a go. I think that's probably the only way to really find out. So let's just make sure we're connected here and that we don't have ground but have elevated and forced on the entire segment. And then let's see what happens if we were to move like 7.5 above, because we'd need that to clear this, I think, at the very least. So that would be a 17.4% incline. That's a little much, isn't it? I'm gonna try, and then we're gonna see if Move It Magic can make things look all right. Let's get the final stretch done using the complex curve tool, so that we can click for the first point, we can click for the second point, and then we can hopefully tricky stuff. We'll move in here and then we'll do a little upgrade of this segment. That is terrible, but I think that's mainly just due to how the game like auto-solved the lane math here. It's not the way I would probably do it, because we could do something else. I mean, let's see, if we remove all connections and we do something like this instead. Yes, that is going to work. There you go. That's a lot better. So this is an extra lane that is merged in, and then this is the extra lane from this segment. So it's not pretty, but it should work. Now this is the major issue. That's just not gonna work. Actually, this node here is like very low. There's plenty of space to just kind of raise this a little bit, and I'm hopeful that's going to make this transition a little more bearable. We've got a ton of nodes here in very little space, so it's not fun to work with, but I think that this should work. Yeah, that looks just fine. I'm not saying that property prices here on Mulberry Lane were high to begin with. Actually, they probably were, because the housing market is out of control. But it should have dropped now, because this guy's got an actual lane on top of his garden. Let's see if we can adhere to just a bit of lane math. Not that I'm usually afraid of disregarding that, but just gonna make a 2-lane version right here. Yeah, I think this ramp is tolerable by now with a lot of move it tweaking. The merging here, not so much. But I'm hopeful that we can just kind of move it on the actual segment here and bring that in a little more. And that looks a whole lot better. Now getting off Route 28 is gonna be a little more tricky than getting on it. I think we need to branch out from this 2-lane wide segment, and we need to do it early on because the elevation is dropping as you move into downtown Chowder Bay. So it has to be pretty early, and it's gonna be quite a challenge elevation wise, I think, to manage this. So 9.7% I think we can do with that. That's not too bad, especially not fun. You know, I think we can be a little more lenient with our off ramps, because the cars or trucks can kind of coast a bit. I hope that makes sense. So let's see if we can just continue bringing that down and moving underneath. And everything here is just going to be an absolute stretch now, but I'm going to try and connect it up to the bridge. So I figured we'll get rid of this segment and we're just going to try this out. Gonna have to freeform this one. Now, even though this has already received my gold certification as an infrastructurist mess, we're not quite done because there's really no great way to enter the incineration plant if you are traveling from Chowder Bay or you're moving in the southbound direction. So I think we need an underpass to go underneath here and connect to this. But that will actually have to wait because we're facing another issue. As I zoom out, our water producing facilities are completely overloaded. And if we have a look at the info view, our output does not meet our consumption rate. Now we kind of need to solve this now, of course, but the issue is that this wasn't a part of the initial public spending plan. So we're gonna have to hastily move through the processes here, which I fear is gonna make things even more expensive. But I am seeing a good groundwater location on this peninsula as part of the West Point city. So let's grab a groundwater pumping station and get that placed. It says $40,000 upfront cost, but I think that's if everything's aligned perfectly and not hastily moved through. So we'll see how costly this is actually gonna be. Yeah, that was much more expensive. Oh boy. I'm just gonna make sure we're connected up to the street grid here. So the issue has now been solved and East Haven has a decent surplus for future development. But that cost overrun, quick math tells me that was 400 or 500k, which is a factor 10. So either this public investment process is so compromised in East Haven County, or I just need to plan way ahead of time, because rushing public investments through, they're just bound for massive cost overruns. So we're gonna hold off for a bit before we create more connections to this island and the incineration plant, because it's already well connected to Fort John. That is by far the area that is the most plagued by poor waste management. So what we're gonna move on to is some public investment in our education infrastructure. Because we've got, I mean, elementary school capacity really isn't looking great. There's been an influx of citizens recently. The population here in East Haven County has absolutely been booming. And people have either brought their children, or people are actually having a lot of children in the city. The fertility rate is pretty high. So we need plenty of new elementary schools, and we need a new high school as well. The location of this first elementary school that we're building is going to actually be right next to the incineration plant here in the suburb Pine Grove, which is one of the outermost suburbs of the city of Chowder Bay. Because there's a weird lot here. There's gonna be a weird lot anyways when we remove these guys. And this is a place where we can demolish as few housing units as possible, so it's going to probably cause the least public outcry. Now, there is an issue with the nearby infrastructure. The trains aren't necessarily all that much of an issue, because that's, you know, at a relatively infrequent rate, but there's quite a bit of noise from the traffic here. So the county has agreed to do a little change to the Route 28 infrastructure, which basically involves installing a sound barrier for much of this stretch. It's unfortunately not possible on the elevated segment here, so we can't do that, but this should help a little bit at least. I'm gonna clear the land here, and then for the actual school, I'm going to be splicing several schools together. There should be like you know, enough space here for not splicing them together if you want to. If you're using the same save game from Patreon and you're not a fan of splicing buildings together, I totally get that. But I'm gonna do it. It's gonna create a more custom look. I think it's gonna look better, and it's gonna be a better use of the land. So I actually want to use different assets for most of the schools we'll be building. So I'm gonna start with the Eastern European Elementary School. Which is, it's not pretty, or it's not a beautiful building, but it's a well-made asset. And I think this slightly brutalist architecture can actually fit rather well in this area. So I'm just gonna get that freeform placed right here. And let's see, it has a capacity right out the gate of 1500, which is very impressive. And then I'm gonna pause. The next building we're gonna place is another school, and I think it was this one, the Urban Elementary School, which actually kind of fits. I'm gonna see if I can just splice these two together without having the park of the Urban Elementary School cross into the open courtyard here. So if I can just align it like this maybe. And as long as the game is not giving me notifications of pathing issues, I can be pretty sure that these buildings are gonna function as they should. And then we're actually placing one more of these. Gonna be interesting to see what the total cost is gonna be. Well, at least $1 million more than expected. Ouch. Let's add the extension wing to just a one of these so that they look a little different. And then I guess I'll have to maybe use Move It to just lower that into the ground so the fencing doesn't stick through the roof of the Eastern European building. This adds more than 4,000 additional capacity, 1,500, 1,700 and 1,200, which is exactly what we need. But it was expensive. Let's do a bit of terraforming so we can fit in some parking lots, because there currently is very, very little on-site parking here for staff members. In fact, we've pretty much covered up the visible surface parking that was a part of the Eastern European building, which is not gonna work. We need parking. Trying to use the parking roads here to create something interesting. Although I don't want to intersect with the roundabout, that's probably gonna look just a bit too funky. And then I'll see if I can even squeeze in a bit out here, but that is going to require a bit of move it manipulation, I think. And because I'm going to turn one side here into a key wall, let's see this side so that this parking is aligned real close to the train tracks. A bit of a simple layout and some really simple detailing with a few trees basically, and that's it. Let's see how that helped. Helped quite a bit, still short around 6,000 spots, so onwards we continue. Alright, so for the second school, where was it? Alright, it was out here near Queen's Cape. We've got a bit of space here, at least if we're a little rough with the terraforming tool set. And this school is going to be a little simpler because my plan was to utilize the Southwest school, which I know is technically architecturally inspired by the west coast of the US, Southwest specifically. But I think it's going to be a decent fit here, and this one is so upgradable that it's exactly what we need. Wait a minute, what's this? Yeah, this is the elementary school. So let's see, we're gonna freeform place that. Maybe we should make things a little more interesting. Have my own little alley cutting through here. I'm mumbling, sorry. But it has such nice, surface work, and the lanes that are built here are so cool. So I think it deserves a little alley to run out front here. So we'll go for something like this, the entire stretch, and then a simple curve to connect to the existing intersection right here. Like. And then for good measure, I think we should cover the backside as well. Now, as you can see, there's no notification, so connecting to these extensions technically aren't necessary, but I like to do it anyways because it's just gonna, it's gonna make the whole thing look a little better. So let's see. I'm gonna extend the surface so that we don't have an awkward stop for this alley road here, so don't worry too much about that. And then I'll create this road, and I will also have a road here. And once again, I'm thinking of extending the surface. I'm gonna showcase you guys what I mean. Actually, it kind of does what I want, so that was super easy. Anyways, on to the upgrades. Oh, wait. Let's do just a tiny bit of terraforming beforehand, because it looked maybe a little too dramatic. Something like this. Oh, and a little question for all of you before I continue. Do you guys like the more, obvious seasons that we're using? So it's winter now, and I've changed the setting in the tree controller mod, which makes the trees that don't carry green leaves year round actually lose all their leaves pretty much. It's actually, if we move over here to some of the Jill and Eads University, it's very, very visible that we don't have a lot of pine or spruce out here. We do right here, but otherwise it's pretty barren now. I kind of like it, to be honest. It adds a bit of flavor. I don't want the snow, admittedly. But it's 11 degrees, so I guess we're not getting any snow anyways. So let me know what you guys think. I kind of like it, to be honest. Anyways, upgrades. We start with 1,000 capacity-wise, and this one is just so beefy. So this building here adds another 1,000. This building here adds another 500. And then for good measure, you can place a ton of these annex buildings if you want to really continue. I think we're just gonna add the one, and we can freeform place this and make it look a little more interesting. So we are going to. So I'll place it out here. It obviously needs some connections, which is perfectly fine. So let's just ensure we give it that. lots of additional capacity. So let's hit play and let this fill. Interestingly, this school cost exactly as advertised, but we did award the contract to local Queen's Cape constructors, so maybe we should use them a little more, and there's definitely something iffy over here. Okay, so we're not quite there yet, but I'm just gonna let things settle a bit so we can see how much we actually need. In terms of like our coverage, then most of the main cities have a couple of elementary schools, even some of the suburbs that are quite sizable, such as Chester has its very own elementary school. The same is the case in Roseville up here, has its own elementary school. All of these are full, of course. And then Cape Autumn, the rural peninsula, doesn't have any elementary school. And the city of Autumn, the town of Autumn, of course, doesn't have one either. So we need to build one out here. We might as well actually start with that, because whether we need the capacity or not, when things have settled, Cape Autumn should have its own school. Let's see how many people actually live out here. So we have 367 residents within the actual town of Autumn. And then the remainder of the Cape has 283. So we probably don't need a big school out here, but we need something. Now let's see. I'm trying to use as many unique assets as possible in this build, and that is getting easier and easier with so many region packs added. Maybe one of the UK themed primary school. This one has a Victorian look, which is pretty distinctive, but not out of order here in the eastern US. We gotta remember East Haven County is 400 years old, give or take. So let's actually see if we can place that somewhere in a kind of scenic location out here, so that it's like some kind of fancy border school maybe. Okay, this might be a bit waggy, but I wanted to give it a special location. It's actually located on this small island out here. Let's just give this a go. I think this could be fun. I want it to face the beautiful view here, the open base. So maybe if we could actually wait a minute. Does it? It has plenty of windows out the back as well. I'm just gonna place it and then see how the extensions look. I'll add this one. I'll add this one. Yeah, I'm gonna flip it. I want it to face the open bay. It's gonna make it a little more tricky to get the road in place, but I'm thinking I'm gonna use a small gravel road that we're just gonna make sure we connect right here at the very front and quickly moves to the side of the building. And then we gotta move across this really cool little terrain here. So let's see. We should have a small 2-lane wooden covered bridge. That is perfect. That is what we want. But this is gonna look so cozy. It's gonna be a really interesting commute going to school in a place like this. Feels kind of magical almost. And then I preferably want to remove as few of these spruce and pine trees as possible. And let's just move up this gentle hillside and connect. The main surface here is really just begging to be replaced by something old looking, but maybe also slightly fancy. Oh, that's nice. And it is actually from Victoria Square in Leeds, England. So that's pretty fitting, I feel. Anyways, I'm just gonna connect it up to the dirt road here, and then I'm gonna add a bunch of decals to the dirt road so that it kind of sticks out like a sore thumb right now. I'm not gonna lie. So if we just sink this a bit into the ground, and then we'll make this a proper dirt road. I think the better modded way of doing this is to grab some dirt road net lanes from PDX mods I know they're there, but I actually haven't enabled them for this build, which I could have utilized now, but I mean, spamming decals is gonna work as well. Using these static ploppables just gives us so many opportunities for detailing and customizing our builds, such as having a couple of tennis courts added as a modern extension to this school out here. I think that's pretty fitting. Not sure they would build it quite as modern, but we'll take what we can get. I'm just gonna make sure the ground is flat here, and that I can remove a few of these trees. And obviously this isn't functional. It's a part of it's an extension, I think, to the city high school that can be added to the roof, but it's something different now out here. Now, a place like this needs a special name. Just like you guys helped name Jill and Eads University in Queen's Cape, a posh old school like this needs a special name with a special story as well. So if you've got a suggestion, let me know in the comments. Certainly a scenic location. Next up, we're gonna build a high school. And I think I've got the spot. So right around Inner Bay, we've got this weird hill, which I'm probably gonna remove so that I can kind of connect this part of the Inner Bay to the, I guess this is Queen's Cape downtown or business district a little better. So we're just gonna flatten the terrain a little bit here, and then I have an idea of using a French pack asset here, which I think might fit all right with this contemporary architecture, which I know might sound a little weird, but I actually think this is gonna work, mostly due to like the color scheme. But let's see, we actually have it right here, the French themed high school, high capacity and doesn't have a monster footprint. And it's a very nice looking asset. So I was actually thinking of just kind of placing it to align it alongside Queen's Passage here. Or wait, are we gonna move it a little bit back? Decisions. Let's actually move it a little back and just kind of place it so that it's kind of at the same angle as the university, the modern university. So we'll place it right here, and then we're gonna move in and grab a parking lot road, I suppose. A parking lot alley at the very least. Let's see if we can get a straight stretch of that right in front of the building. And then just switch to the regular alley and get the connection going to the existing intersections here, so that we don't cause too much trouble. Very well, and then back here we've got a host of different services in play, and I was thinking that we're gonna bring some pedestrian pavement paths through first. Just gonna freeform this, and that even extends some of the surfaces of these buildings. As you guys can see, it's such a cool feature. All the criticism aside, there are some, you know, foundational features in Cities Skylines 2 that I just don't feel I can live without by now. Anyways, can we extend the surface of the actual school if we bring a... No, that's not gonna work. Okay, I think that's fine though. So let's see, in terms of upgrades, we've got science labs. Extensions up here, that is so cool. Adding an extra floor to this segment. And then we have the courtyard extension, adding another 100 capacity. And I think we're gonna grab that as well. And then just a bit of surface tweaking and a few trees, and we're good to go. I think we could do with a slightly more fancy surface in here. I want to use one of the dark red ones, I think, to kind of create a bit of contrast. Maybe, actually, I think I have some French surfaces. UK, Japan, Germany, here we go. Let's see. Yes, I'll just grab this one. I think that works. Very, very nice addition. Needs a name as well, so fire away. This one is a little more ordinary, I guess, but cool architecture nonetheless. A ton of student capacity, so I'm thinking we're covered for we're covered for high school, college, and university. Still a bit short on elementary school. Now, since we are on the topic of renaming things, it's about time I follow through with some awesome suggestions for the new districts we created as we split up Queen's Cape a couple of episodes ago. So for Croft Beach, I really like the suggestion to rename it to Sandbanks, and there's a bit of a backstory as well connected to Dorset, UK. So there you have it. 1,025 residents. Oh right, there's actually quite a decent density out here. Then there's another comment to rename Dale Islands to Arbella Islands, and there's another cool backstory for that one as well. So, I mean, you guys make it so easy. Of course, that would make this the Sandbanks Elementary School. And Arbella doesn't have much just yet, but it will. I think we're actually gonna build a cruise port of some sort on the archipelago. So that's gonna be, another complex project, because obviously it's gonna need some adequate road access, but that's for a future episode. Alright, so back to the completely legit incineration plans. I want to make this connection at least to Forge Point and these suburbs here, and we do actually have the Cape Rose Pikeway, which is like the main road cutting through here. It's downgraded to a 2-laner as we reach this point, but I think this makes sense because there isn't much in terms of development this way, and it should make it fairly easy for us to connect it to this road right here. Hopefully at least. So we'll just grab the very same thing, a 2-lane 2-way highway, which I think this one is, and it should be pretty smooth sailing. We'll just enable contour lines for good measure, and then I think we're gonna go up by maybe 5 meters and then bridge across, probably upgrade it to one of the more interesting bridges as soon as we've moved across here. Actually, I'm gonna change strategy here a little bit, because I'm gonna have a curved segment. I don't usually have like curved segments when I do the bridges, because I think that would be a fairly expensive procedure, but we're gonna make an exception here because I think that's gonna look a little better. Yes. This upgrade's probably not worth it, not with such a low-hanging bridge. What are you? Bradley Kendall. Oh. Okay. Homeless person walking on the train tracks here. I guess trying to make their way from Forge Point to somewhere a little nicer. That's kind of tragic. Anyways, let's see how the incineration plant is doing. So efficiency-wise, we're looking pretty good. Employees are happy. And we're producing about 32 megawatts, which is pretty sizable compared to before. So we're still 40 megawatts short of being able to completely supply the county and not having to rely on imports, but it's quite the improvement. We also seem to have all 50 garbage trucks in near constant use, and we're processing 2,400 tons of garbage a month, so this was sorely needed. Since we've already vandalized any type of nature we had out here, and we have rising unemployment as well as demand for just about everything, I think we need a bit of industrial development out here. I'm just gonna keep it kind of brief and build some stuff using my custom warehouse zone. Just to start off with. We can always kind of change that, but for now it's gonna be fairly simple. I would like some of it to kind of align with the train tracks, as that always just looks a little better. So we're just gonna grab this wide alley and get a straight segment done right here, and then I think we're gonna move underneath the bridge. And then I wonder if we can use this type of road to connect. Oh yes, a parking lot or two, and then some good simple zoning. Gonna leave a bit of space where we can place some surfaces to kind of look like empty lots, stuff like that. Isn't that beautiful? It works, and more jobs, so that's always great. I wonder what we're gonna call this island. This charming recreational space. Myrtle Ridge. Oh my goodness, that's... I mean, we can start with Myrtle Island, but I'm sure one of you guys have a better suggestion. And I actually think that's gonna be it for this episode. Because a massive new patch just launched for Cities Skylines 2 today, actually, as I'm recording this very segment. So when I boot up the game again, it's gonna have that new patch installed, and I do imagine I'm gonna have to tinker with quite a few mods, and there should be some pretty major simulation overhauls as well. So it's gonna be really interesting to see how that's gonna affect some of my bigger cities, but I think I need to dig into that and get everything prepared. So as always, I want to thank you guys so much for watching, all the wonderful comments and cool feedback. And I'm hopeful that as the series progresses, we're gonna uncover a few more clues to what's actually going on here in East Haven County. Because I think today's episode really highlights that everything isn't quite as it seems. I'm gonna shoot some final cinematics now, and I hope to see you all in the next one. Goodbye.